All right, so there's still no new numbers out of Alberta. We'll have numbers later tonight or for tomorrow. Some other provinces did release numbers, though. Apparently, it's just Alberta, or there's probably some other ones. But Ontario, the numbers are still down. They've been consistently down though for the last little while. They are announcing plans to reopen even more, which is good. Quebec, the numbers I believe they had about 100, so that's decent for them, I believe. But again, across Canada, there's no province that has anything to worry about. I mean, it's the same old as far as that goes. Um, as far as the states go, again, their numbers were still pretty high yesterday. I mean, pretty low compared to the last 4 or 5 days before it, but still up above 50,000. But again, there's really good news in that the deaths were at 380 yesterday, which is very low. It is down from the past 4 or 5 days as well. So again, it's pretty clear at this point. I think that I don't see any way that they're going to have, even like I say, even the states, um, that they're going to have a big, massive scare. I mean, a lot of people think that they're having another big scare, but the reality is that they just aren't. The reality is that they're testing more, they're discovering more people, and the protests and reopening probably did lead to a little bit of an increase in cases, but I don't think it's that significant. I think the clear difference is the increase in testing. And if it really was something to worry about, the news would be talking about that, right? Like the news would be talking about, I don't know what their exact numbers were, but the news would be saying, oh, well, a month or 2 or 3 ago, the average percent chance of testing positive was 1%, and now it's 2 or 3 or 4%. And like I say, if it was actually a big issue, that's what they would be talking about. And given the fact that the media hasn't brought that up, because we know the media's agenda is to drive fear for many reasons. I mean, obviously, the main one being it's good for ratings, and number two, it's good for the politicians who a lot of times are paying their bills, especially in Canada. Again, so that's one of the many reasons why. So again, the media is just flat out lying. Again, so one of the big things I wanted to bring up today is Sweden, and their death toll is now approaching, and according to this article here, um, Sweden's death tolls are approaching zero, but experts are warning others not to hail it as a success. Now, again, it's just a laughable title. Like, um, so what they're saying is that because Sweden's strategy clearly worked, we can't take it um, as an example of a success because it's pretty much the opposite of what we did. Most of the rest of the first world did at least. But again, if the opposite had happened, are these idiots honestly suggesting that Sweden's death toll is the highest or per capita the highest in the world? Um, but we shouldn't take it as an example of not locking down working or not working. Again, of course they would. Like it's so obvious. I would bet every dollar I have that if Sweden had had the highest per capita death, even higher than average, which I believe they're about average. When you see the comparisons, oftentimes these quote unquote experts in the mainstream media will compare them to some of the lesser hit countries in Europe and use that as an example of it didn't work in Sweden. But the reality is that if you compare it to the average, I mean compare it to the states or compare it to Canada, it's not that much different. Again, so and the other thing too is that yeah, they did have a little more deaths per capita, but their economy like didn't even shrink whatsoever. Like we have, I mean, the official numbers show what 12, 13% unemployment in Canada. The reality is, again, the reality of the unemployment numbers is they're usually like 20, 30% higher than the official numbers show. I mean, and no one even can debate that because the official unemployment numbers only take into account people who are actively looking for work. And not only that, too, is that let's say you're working full time going into this, or even you're working part time and you go back, but you're not getting paid as much, you're not working as much hours, maybe it was a different job in and of itself that doesn't pay as well. Then yeah, you're technically still employed, but you're worse off than where you started. So that's one of the many problems of the quote unquote unemployment numbers is that they radically underestimate the reality of how bad unemployment is. So Yeah, and then like I said, the problem with Sweden again when this kind of stuff is that the Swedish strategy clearly worked. It clearly worked, and these idiot again, these are the same experts that masks don't work, borders don't work, all this garbage. Um, we can't go back to normal till there's a vaccine, even though there may never be a vaccine. I mean, look at the flu too. There's a vaccine, quote unquote, for the flu, but still, like, the states had 80,000 people die of the flu in 2018. So the idea that a vaccine, I mean, the other thing too is even Fauci has brought up that there's no guarantee the vaccine will work, even if it makes it past clinical trials, which I've heard no updates on that. I remember 2 months ago people talking about, we're on the verge of having a vaccine, but no updates whatsoever. So again, my guess is that um, there probably won't be a vaccine, and if there is, it'll be way, way, way too late because um, it's already too late. Like the virus is already dying out. I mean, aside from a handful of countries, but you look at the countries that were hardest hit off the start, it's already dying out. We've seen doctors out of Italy saying, yeah, the virus has virtually disappeared. Same as Sweden too. So again, the idea that we need a vaccine it's insane. It's the only reason people want a vaccine is number one, the sheep think that well we need it to go back because they believe the mainstream media garbage, and Bill Gates and those kind of people want to make money off it. So again, it's insane, and obviously the pharma companies. But again, this is just another example of just blatant stupidity from the mainstream media, like blatant stupidity. Like Sweden's strategy clearly worked. I mean, it was like I say, it wasn't foolproof, but it was better than the alternative. I mean, look at the states in Canada. We still had tons of people died. Now again, the numbers are probably overrated to a degree, but the pro lockdown crowd would are the ones least likely to think that the numbers are fudged. But again, the goal was never to completely eliminate the virus. The goal going into this was to not overwhelm the healthcare system. Sweden didn't overwhelm the healthcare system, and their economy in the first quarter it grew. In the second quarter, I believe it shrunk slightly, but I mean that could be partially due to other economies being hurt, not necessarily themselves. I mean, for example, when the States went into recession in '08, it massively hurt the Canadian economy as well, right? So the idea that their economy shrinking to a small degree is because of what they did is kind of asinine, if you ask me. And it didn't shrink nearly as much as what other countries did, like not even close. So again, it was the perfect, I mean not perfect, but as close to perfect, I guess is a better way of saying it, as close to a perfect as a solution as possible is what Sweden did. Is I mean the one thing too that they messed up that they admitted, I believe, is that they didn't take the whole nursing home thing serious enough, which we didn't do in Canada or the states either. And the states, mainly the Democratic run states. So again, you can't and well in Canada too the you got Quebec and you got Ontario were really the only ones hard hit, but um, that's the only way they really screwed up too. And the other thing too is that it's like I've been bringing up for months now. The clear solution, the not even it's so obvious it's not even funny solution is to let people under the age of 50 to 60, whatever number you want to set it at, go about their normal lives next almost unabated. Like younger people should hardly even know a difference pre and during this whole they should hardly have noticed a difference. Um, the older people, yeah, definitely, and nursing homes especially. But aside from that, nothing should have changed. Like again, we know the death rate for people under the age of 50 is lower than the flu. We know that for people under the age of 20 to 30, it's way lower than the flu. Which again, this whole debate about should schools go back again, it's absolutely asinine. Like it's absolutely asinine that people are actually thinking that schools shouldn't go back and colleges shouldn't go back. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like there's no science behind it either. Like there's no science behind it whatsoever. So anyway, that's something I wanted to bring up. Again, this is a story out of the Washington Examiner. It's titled "Trump Denies Minnesota Governor's Request for 500 million to Repair Damage from Riots." Now, as far as this goes, why I wanted to talk about this is again, I don't think Trump has handled the last while very well. I mean, there's only so much he can do, but I think there's a lot of stuff that he should have done during his presidency that he hasn't done up to this point. And I've seen a lot of people on social media that have been either full on Trump supporters or, kind of tacit Trump supporters that have been a lot of them saying, yeah, I'm not going to vote for the guy. I mean, there's obviously stuff that he could do to change their mind, probably, but a lot of Trump supporters are very skeptical right now. But this is something that is a very, very good. I mean, number one, pardoning Roger Stone was a very good idea. And regardless of what you think, going after Roger Stone was clearly political. I mean, come on, like people. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg. He lied to Congress under oath too. Is anyone wanting to go after him? Like, come on. Not only that too, Roger Stone lied to the FBI. Um, about something that didn't happen. Like you can't lie to the FBI. You can't lie to the cops or the feds or whoever it is about something that didn't happen. He didn't lie about something. What he was lying about was the Russia investigation, which we know was number one a complete and utter farce. It was completely made up, and not only that, too, the real scandal was the Obama administration going after the incoming Trump administration um, illegally. So again, that's where it should have came from. So again, I don't care what you think of Roger Stone. And that's the other thing too is that one of the many aspects of the Trump presidency is people who were supportive of him or even right in his in with them that were unfairly targeted. I mean, Flynn's a good example. For no good reason. These people were. I mean, Flynn was millions of dollars of his own money was unjustly stolen from him. I mean, I hope he sues these people and gets it all back and then some. But again, that's something that he has to be doing. Like all these people that are being unfairly targeted, he needs to pardon them. And again, these idiots arguing, "Oh, Trump's a dictator." But no, Trump has pardoned, I believe, 11 people. Obama has pardoned literally like over 100 times more people. I mean, I think it's like around 1,000 people that Obama pardoned. So again, it's not even close. So again, it just goes to show just how ignorant these people are. And getting back to this whole thing, this is a very good move by Trump for several reasons, but the main one being is that if these leftists want to have their crazy leftists defund the police, socialist paradise chop garbage, um, let them. But when they fall flat on their face and screw the entire thing up like these socialists and communists always do, again, like Elon Musk tweeted out the other day, communism's failed every time it's been tried. All these crazy leftist ideologies fail. They're a failure every time they're tried, and the way you legitimize those, or one way you legitimize them, is to bail them out when they screw up. This is the biggest problem when it comes to the average individual on the right, is that because they actually have a moral compass, they feel too bad when they see these stupid lefties implement their stupid leftist policies and fail. And what do? They bail them out. Oh, I'll pay more taxes. We'll have more regulation. All this garbage. Like, come on, like no, like this is exactly why I support the concept of Wexit and why I've been talking about the idea of these Canada and the States breaking up. Like let's have areas that the leftists can run it however they want. And even within the areas, you can have literal communist paradises, and you can have libertarian utopias in the conservative areas again. And the problem, again, why that wouldn't work is that number one, the communists and the leftists know that their ideas don't work, and the only way that they can work is if they steal the wealth generated from capitalism and steal it for themselves. And the people, the capitalists and the people on the right, why? I mean, this isn't the majority of them, but there's enough of them that it would never work, and that they feel too guilty because they're constantly ridiculed for white guilt and slavery and capitalism this and capitalism that. They're too guilty, and when again, it's the same thing why people support socialist healthcare, right? Like they look at someone who smoked their entire life or has diabetes, ate incredibly unhealthy their entire life, and for whatever reason they don't they care so much. Again, they care more than the person themselves, right? Because if the person themselves actually cared, they wouldn't have ate like crap their entire life. They care more than the individuals themselves. Again, so getting back to the full point here, it's a great move by Trump. This is something that has to be done. If these leftists want to have their stupid BLM destroying, rioting, all that garbage that they did, yeah, go ahead and do it, but they're going to have to foot the bill. And what happens when they foot the bill? I mean, this is, what's going to happen is taxes will have to be raised. and services will probably have to be cut. And what's going to happen? Oh, there's no services for the poor people. There's no, oh, they have to drive further because there's no businesses in their neighborhoods and all this garbage. Again, what are they going to do when that happens? It's going to be, oh, racism, oh, systemic racism. Well, no, you're poor and there's no businesses in your areas because you destroyed all of them, and no one with half a brain wants to open a business in your neighborhood. Like, again, these people are so stupid, it's not even funny. No, again, if you think that I'm wrong, you should still agree with me because, yeah, because if you should still agree with me for the simple fact that I'm perfectly fine with them, the leftists and all these having their leftist areas. The only thing I'm against is being forced to bail them out for their when they screw up again, and they think that they won't screw up. So again, um, yeah, that's the whole thing. Trump needs to be doing this. He needs to be doing this because at some point it will force the crazy leftists to wake up. At some point it will. The problem too is that a lot of them will just move. A potential problem is that they may just move to other areas and just do the same thing over and over again. That is definitely a legitimate concern, but nonetheless a good move by Trump. Again, Nike won't sell red. Again, this is from Alex Marlowe here. Nike won't sell Redskins gear because it's racist, but they'll totally fine selling and profiting off products made in China, which has literal concentration camps, prosecutes Christians and Muslims, I would add, for all the leftists out there, and bans blacks from restaurants. Again, a lot of blacks are. I mean, there's not very many of them, but they're not allowed in a lot of restaurants in China because I mean I assume they're considered dirty or whatever garbage crap that China thinks these days. Um, but again, it doesn't make any sense. Like they won't sell Redskins gear because it's racist, but yet they're perfectly fine. Again, the whole NBA thing with China. Again, there's more negative that comes from selling Redskins gear, which the natives are less likely to think that it's racist than the white liberals and even whites as a whole. Again, so the idea that it's racist makes no sense. The only reason that people think that it's racist is because the crazy leftists think everything's racist and they want to destroy history so they can remake society in their own worldview. But again, like I've been saying I've said a million times, but again, China has literally internment camps where they steal people's organs and sell them on the black markets. Not only that, too, they're incredibly oppressive. The human rights records are terrible there. Um, I mean, they prosecute religious minorities, like I say, Muslims included in that. Um, and yet nobody cares. Nobody wants to boycott China. I don't think we'd realistically be able to fully boycott China, but we should definitely be pushing back against them. Like, come on, it's insane. It's just beyond insane. This is from Matt Walsh. Absolutely ludicrous. The black guy who pummeled a white Macy's employee wasn't charged with a hate crime, but two white people are charged with a hate crime for painting over graffiti. Now, again, this is beyond insane too. So this couple painted over a Black Lives Matter mural somewhere. Again, how is that considered a hate crime? But I'm not sure if that since I believe I heard the other day that the guy who pummeled the Macy's employee may be being charged, but you'd have to double check that. So I'm not sure if he's totally right about this. But again, he did put this tweet out on July 7th. So um, it may be wrong, but again, nonetheless, when it was this whole Macy's situation happened like a month ago. So again, why even if he is being charged, why did it take so long? Like again, if it was the other way around, the guy would be thrown in jail with the key, and the key thrown away already. So again, it's just beyond insane that we are running a society based off such a massive double standard. And the problem is that the leftist solution to all these problems, most of them are blown out of proportion, is only to make more of a double standard. And what happens when you get more of a double standard? You don't make the problem better, you only make the problem worse. And that's what I've been talking about this entire time. So that's the last thing I wanted to bring up today. So if you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. I got a link in the description. Again, appreciate any donations at the very least. Just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And last few things, check me out on BitChute, Parlor, and Twitter. All those links are in the description, so you can find them all there.